Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. One of the best ways to learn your deen is through experience. Like you really gotta learn and pay attention to your everyday life and the experiences that you have and how you deal with them Islamically. So when you're aware of enough different hadiths and Quran ayats, and then when you get into situations, like no matter what the situation is, it could be something simple as seeing a neighbor, right? And when you get into a situation and you're able to stop and call, you're able to stop, focus, and bring forth the action from a hadith that you know. From a hadith that you know. So I'm speaking on that because I want to speak on a couple of experiences that where it helped me learn from the deen and it helped me grow. Because Tawakul, really trusting in Allah. Pardon me for 1 second. Pardon me. So Tawakul, really truly learning, like really learning how to use a wasila, Tawakul and Tawasul. That really having that real trust in Allah it's almost like a lost art form. And Istikharah. So one thing about Istikharah and Tawakul, the way they go hand in hand. So like it's a brief hadith. I pulled it up right here. I don't want to come off like I got it memorized, in my head. So the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, well, this was narrated by Jabir bin Abdullah. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to teach us the way of Istikharah in all matters, as he taught us the surahs of the Quran. So the way that the companions was taught to memorize the Quran and how important it was to memorize the Quran and how to. So you got to keep in mind, when they was taught to memorize the Quran, they did it 10 ayahs at a time, but they was taught the tafsirs of the Quran, how to explain it, the situation that was going on. So the way that they was taught that and how important it was, they was taught Istikharah. I'm seeing now, just from the Muslims that I know, the only time they really making Istikharah is perhaps when they get ready to get married. Or if they feel like they want to get divorced, they'll make Istikharah. Some, if they want a job or something, but that's rare. The majority of people I know, when they make Istikharah, it has to do with marriage or divorce. So this is how important Istikharah was, right? So an experience that I learned from with Istikharah and Tawakul. So, Muslim brother I was real cool with from Philly. And me, basically, they was trying to link me with his sister. So, I talked to the sister, met the sister, we was cool, right? So, of course, me and him, he approved of us going forward with the nikah. So in the meantime, while because we was in 2 different cities, so with us trying to arrange a nikah, sometimes we would get on the phone, we would chop it up, and they was in the same house at the time, so it wasn't like unsupervised or nothing out of pocket. And I was really digging her. Like I'm talking about, you know what I'm saying, I really liked the sister, you know what I'm saying, like she was my cup of tea. So you know, as we chopping it up, and you know, I'm really starting to develop some real feelings for the sister. So we working out arrangements, going through different things, because they wanted to do the nikah where they was, and then we was gonna move here. I was gonna move them to my city, right? So once we started getting real close to the date, I hadn't really made Istikharah, and we both kind of held on. So we was like, okay, you know, alhamdulillah, I'm a night prayer. So I was like, tonight, when I make tahajjud, I'm gonna make Istikharah. So they was like, you know, before I go to bed, I'm gonna make Istikharah. So when I made Istikharah, and you know, I did the 2 rakats, I said what I said to Allah Azza wa Jal, and this is how I capped off my tahajjud prayer. And I went to sleep, right? You know, made Fajr and all that, went to sleep. When I woke up, all the feelings that I had for that sister was completely gone. I didn't even want to talk to her. I didn't want to talk to her. Like, everything was completely gone. I'm talking about as soon as I woke up. Wallahi, when I woke up, every single thing I felt for that sister was gone. To the point where I was so amazed by this, I asked Allah, like, not why, but show me what's about this sister. Show me what I was missing. Did Shaitan arouse false desires in me to make me be feeling that sister like that? Show Allah, you know, show me what I was missing. So a part of me was a little salty, because I liked her. But then that's when the Tawakul had to come in. Let me trust Allah's decision. I made Istikharah, and immediately when I wake up, everything's gone. So let me go to that Tawakul. So I did what's called Tawasul. And that's when you do some good deeds and you offer them up as a wasila, a means to getting closer to Allah. And this is something that I see that's missed in our community. I mean, not a lot of Muslims, but it's starting to be a lost thing. I don't even hear people talk about it. And I'm not talking about tasawwuf like what the Sufis do, tawasul. So it's using the means. For instance, you giving some sadaqah, but you want to use it as a means to expiate some sins, or you asking Allah for something. And you know, you asking Allah, like I'm asking Allah to show me what was it about the sister that I missed. Why was I liking her so much like that? Why was my feelings so strong like that? Was it Shaitan tricking me? So, you know, I did some tawasul. I offered up some things as a wasila. You know, just did some little sadaqah, and then I fasted and offered my fast up. You know, my intentions for fasting this day, these couple of days as a wasila. And this gonna sound crazy to y'all, but wallahi, the sister was possessed with a jinn. Like, had to get real ruqya. I'm talking about infected badly. You know what I'm saying? But this they ended up having to get the ruqya like years later. And I started to see certain things, but you know, I'm not going to disclose it. But Allah did me a solid. You know what I'm saying? Because I was gonna marry that sister, man, and I would have been in the crib, man, with a sister that was possessed by a jinn. So that Istikharah, man, with that sincerity and the way that I did it, and putting my trust in Allah, like, and then just doing that wasila. So from that experience and what Allah did for me, I learned to implement these practices even more. You know, I like you could do 2 rakats for thankfulness, to be gracious, you know, being grateful to Allah for what He did for me. Allah, I'm going to fast, you know, for the intentions of fasting, but also some of my intentions is just for you opening up my eyes to that situation, just to show that I'm grateful. And once I started to do this, more and more just started coming to me. More and more different avenues of learning and subject matters and people of knowledge, it started to open up for me. And when you sit around a person of knowledge, you know, like I used to read about the Sahaba and seeing where they were saying stuff like they went with a person of knowledge and they sat with them a certain amount of years and they didn't even learn no deen from them for 10 years, 12 years, 20 years. They just sat with them and learned how they act first. See, one thing about some of the people from the Salaf, if you didn't have a certain type of character, they wouldn't teach you no deen. I mean, your basics, but like to make you a knowledgeable person, like a scholar of hadith, a scholar of fiqh or something, now you had to get your character together. Because they not finna give you no bunch of deen and a bunch of knowledge for you to go use on the ignorant. So, by me listening to that, sometimes when I was sitting around knowledgeable people, it was the little things. And like I remember, and when I picked up little things from them, this is an experience. This is me learning from my deen, learning deen from experience and how to open up more. So one time, man, I'm sitting, real knowledgeable, balanced brother, right? And he's doing a dars. And the thunder just, I'm talking about the thunder was crazy. As soon as the thunder just got to cracking, he made the dua. Little things like that. He started making the dua. And I'm looking at him. I done read the hadiths on it. I done seen the dua in little books of duas and stuff. And my whole entire time of being Muslim, not one time, I think one time years ago when I first came across it, and I had the book, I heard the thunder, and I did it just so I could mark it off. You know, like that's how I do hadiths. I wait till a situation come and I act up on it so I can mark it off and say I at least did that one time. That was how Imam Ahmed was from the Hanbali fiqh. There's a statement from him saying there's not one hadith that I ever came across that I didn't act upon. So I try to, you know, get situations and act on a hadith. So one time, it's really faint in my head, but I do believe I did it one time. But when he did that, and me seeing that ilm, that tawheed on him like that, this is what I said to myself. I was like, you nasty. To myself. All the time, man, you pay attention to the thunder, all the hadiths, the Quran ayats, about how it's the angels and all this and that, and you never make the dua. Like, your deen trash. This is what I say to myself while he's saying that, but this sitting with the people of knowledge. Another instance, it was this brother here, scholar, right? He a minor scholar. He not like a major scholar, but he was saying how, you know, he overseas, right? So he was walking, and it was this little girl. You know, he walking to the masjid, and it was a little girl riding her bike. So he said the little girl hit something and the handlebars twisted. So she fell off the bike and the handlebars went into her side, like really bad, you know what I'm saying? To the point where he was like, oh my gosh, you know. And he said instantly when the handlebars went into her side, and he said the little girl bent over and she put her hands on where she was hurt at, and she started making the dua for when you feel the pain and different things that you do. And he said he's looking at her, and he said to himself, and it reminded me what I said when dude made the dua for thunder. Astaghfirullah, when Ustad made the dua when he heard the thunder. This was his words. He said, man, when it comes to Iman, I'm a kafir compared to that girl. Not like a kafir, but he was like, anytime when I'm hurt, I can have a headache. Like how many of us have a headache and we put our hand on there and we go through the steps to make the dua when we got a headache. First thing we do, we jump up, get medicine, things like that. You know, you have a pain, your back hurting or your foot or something. How many of us do the dua? And he was like, this little girl instantly bent over, touched the spot, did the dua a certain amount of time that she was supposed to. And he said when she removed her hand, she picked the bike up and started riding like she never even fell. But that was a reminder to him, and just me hearing him discuss that. This is the beauty, man, of being around people of knowledge, picking up those little things. So like, that's through my experience, that's what I started to notice when I'm sitting, or even if I'm watching somebody, a knowledgeable person on YouTube or something that's live. I look for those little things outside of the knowledge. And you know, from that, even when he said that, you know, it made me put my head down like this, because I'm like, that's another situation. I've read the dua. I got 3-4 different books with the duas in them. I done bought the books, gave them to people, and not once ever in my lifetime have I felt the pain or some type of ailment and I made the dua. And these things is boiling down to Tawakul. So I learned from, you know, just hearing that little story and those little things from experiences. I learned to start making that dua. And the same thing with Istikharah, and also with Tawasul, using that wasila as a means to getting closer to Allah, as a means to getting my duas answered. And you know, I could go on and on, but these is beautiful things. And like one last thing that, like I'm gonna say this too. I was married to a sister, right? And we kind of came from similar backgrounds. You know, we're from the same city. We grew up in the same environments. So we kind of had ways that was alike. But we was real cool. You know what I'm saying? Almost best friendish. Like we had that type of friendship, relationship type thing. We was cool. And I remember I get off work at midnight. So I get off work and they was sick. I'll never forget this. So they was a little sick or whatever. And, you know, I jumped in the shower, this and that. So I'm getting ready to go to sleep, and they were sick. And I'm like, what's up, man? You know, you hungry or this and that? So they was a little hungry because they hadn't ate. I jump up. It's like maybe 1:30 in the morning. Drove to a little restaurant, little 24-hour little spot, and I grabbed them something to eat. Right? But I did it on the spot. You know, trying to be the good husband thing, trying to please her and stuff, right? And I did it on the spot, no question asked, but I'm trying to deen. This is a part of the deen. You know, you treat your wife a certain type of way. So I come home, you know what I'm saying, got them something to eat, made sure they ate, you know, did things from the sooner, fed them that first little bite and all that type of stuff, right? And lay down, getting them to sleep good. I'll never forget it. My alarm for Fajr is always to wake me up early though. My alarm go off for Fajr. I hit the button and turned it off. Unconsciously. And then I wake up and I miss Fajr. Right? Just learning from your experiences. So they also they had a job. They had to be at work at a certain time. And at the time I'm dropping them off at work. So I jump up, you know, when I wake up and realize I missed Fajr, of course I made it up. But then I wake up to hurry up and make sure I get them to work on time, come home, lay back down because I got to go to work. And then I missed Dhuhr. Right? I missed Dhuhr. So after I missed Dhuhr, well, I was late for it. Got up and made it, of course. But I sat back and looked at myself and said, when she wasn't feeling good, and you know she was a little sick, even though I was tired, you know, I'm just getting off work, I'm taking a shower, I'm about to go lay down. I jumped up in the middle of the night on a double, no questions asked, didn't feel no type of way, was proud to do it. It's my Muslim wife, drove across town, got her something to eat, came back, you know what I'm saying, did the sunnah, my hands and everything clean, feed her first little bite, right? And I'm on the sunnah and everything. But then I had to ask myself, I know I'm doing this and it's, you know, these things from the sunnah, but am I trying to please her or am I trying to please Allah? Because when it came time for me to make that Fajr, I ain't get up. I hit that button like, then I jump up to make sure she get to work on time, come home and lay down, and then when that jump go out for Dhuhr, I turned it off. When it should have been in reverse. So I really sat on that. It bothered me. And I thank Allah Azza wa Jal that Allah Azza wa Jal allowed me to see that. So again, when it was time for me that night prayer, I made Istikharah. And wallahi, I said to Allah Azza wa Jal, if this sister that I'm married to, if she's going to lead me to the hellfire, if her and this marriage is going to lead me to the hellfire, then end it. If I'm going to somehow lead her to the hellfire, then end it. And like I said, even if this marriage, and I got real specific, even if I end up sending myself to the hellfire by us getting mad at each other and we arguing, you know, some cuss words might be said, we don't talk for a few days, we walking around the house not talking, things that Muslims not supposed to do. Even if we, not that was going on, but I know those things happens in marriages. So I'm like, even if little stuff like that, if I'm going to start falling into stuff like that, and it leads me to the hellfire or some type of punishment in the next life, then end it. Then end it. Right? This is what I really sincerely went to Allah, because like I said, I noticed that when it came to her, I was on the double. This wasn't every day, and then like I'm saying, this was a day I noticed it. I wasn't really missing my prayers and doing things like that, but like I said, I noticed it. Allah allowed me to see it. And And lo and behold, I'll say within 2 weeks, Allah just started allowing me to see different things and start to conversate with them about the deen, because we were so cool and we had that friendship that we was like best friends, you know what I'm saying? We didn't have to connect necessarily on Islam, like those deep Islamic conversations. And once I started to do that, I said, yeah, man, this chick gonna end up in the hellfire, man. Or one of us gonna end up in the hellfire. So like I say, putting that trust in Allah. So I went ahead and divorced her. You know, we had a mutual conversation. It wasn't that it was bad. It was just like, it's something going on here, man, where we possibly not gonna be good for each other. So we made a mutual decision to end it on good terms. And do you know, like 2 months later, I seen her in the grocery store, completely left Islam with a Kafir boyfriend and tight clothes on. She could have transitioned into that while I was with her. And then I could have sat around calling myself trying to be patient with her while I'm laid up every day with a female that the curse of Allah is on. And I'm sitting up like, oh, I'm going to be patient, you know, eventually this, when she's showing absolutely no signs of changing. But because we was cool, like that was my peoples. You know what I'm saying? I still don't hate them to this day. If I see them and they need some help with something, but I'm like that with everybody. I'll still help them out. You know what I'm saying? But having that trust in Allah, because once again, I asked Allah, allow me to see it though. Show me what it is that I missed. And 2 months later, I seen her with a Kafir boyfriend. You know what I mean? Completely left the deen. And you know, no knock to people who wear weave. I'm not trying to insult nobody or judge anybody, but you know, had the weave in, had the what was they calling them, big yoga pants. Had on the real tight yoga pants. You know what I'm saying? With her Kafir boyfriend, man. And you know, we in a certain little area, and while he not paying attention, she's steady trying to get close to me. I don't want you around me. So having that trust in Allah to see that out, and asking Allah specifically, and just having that courage, because like I said, we was real cool. We was smooth, you know what I'm saying? Real ride or die type. Real ride or die type female. You know what I'm saying? I'm talking about like we was like best friends. You know, when you have a best friend in a relationship. We was like that. And for me to go in Istikharah and have that wherewithal to say to Allah, if her and this marriage gonna lead me to the hellfire or some type of punishment in the hereafter, a punishment in the grave, some punishment in this life, Allah end it. Put an end to it. And vice versa. If I'm going to lead her to the hellfire or some type of punishment in the grave or in this life, Allah end it. And of course, I did my same thing with Tawasul. You know, I offered up that fast. Your 2 rakats is already a means of a wasila. But then I fasted, I gave some sadaqah, you know what I'm saying, as a wasila. And Allah worked it out for me. And just learning from those experiences, it showed me I need to implement this even more. You know what I'm saying? Like, some people might invite me to something. And see, I noticed when I slip on it, I was invited to a certain situation that I felt like wasn't good for me, but I didn't make Istikharah about it. I didn't make Istikharah because I was focused on some new Muslims that was going to be there. And I ended up in the same situation that I always end up in. And I continue to have conversations about what's going on due to this situation because I'm trying to help other Muslims. You know, it was my main concern and my intentions. This other Muslim, this one particular Muslim that's a new Muslim, I wanted them to have a place to worship. So I involved myself in stuff, but now I can see where a lot of the brunt, I'm allowing myself to look like the bad person because I'm the one that's telling the truth about everything. And I'm the one that's willing to speak out about it with firmness. But I don't like the way it feels. I don't like the way it make me look. And had I made Istikharah about even going up there, I strongly believe that Allah Azza wa Jal would have put it in me to not go up there. Because as I sit back on it and sit on it, and I go to Allah about it, those are things that start to pop up. The things that Allah started to show me. You should have made Istikharah. You should have said those same things. If this situation is going to lead me to the hellfire or some punishment in this life, or cause my deen to diminish, you know what I'm saying? If it's going to stunt my personal growth Islamically, then Allah keep me away from it. These is the things and the signs that Allah is starting to reveal to me. And you know, I'm sitting here, I'm cool with it though. I'll take that. You shouldn't be saying nothing, and you know, usually, man, when somebody you telling them the truth and you speaking on the truth in a manner when you're supposed to, and people don't want you to do it, they're gonna automatically call it a backbite when it's not backbite. You know what I'm saying? And or they're gonna automatically refrain. They're gonna automatically turn it into something because they don't want that heat on them. You know what I'm saying? To take the focus off of them and what they doing. But so that's learning from experience, man. And that was one time because I'm rushing into the situation because I care about other Muslims and new Muslims that's showing up, and I know what they finna fall into. So I put my personal feelings aside and went up there, but I should have made Istikharah. I should have had Tawakul up on that Istikharah, and I should have did Tawasul before I went up there. So one of the best ways, just like they say, even in life, learn from your Islamic experiences. You know what I'm saying? Things that involve the deen, because experience is an excellent teacher. It isn't always the best teacher because there's certain things experience you have to learn it before you get the experience, and you might not ever have to act up on it. So, but you have the knowledge of it. Sort of like somebody who went to school and learned trigonometry, and lived your whole life and never used it. Experience wasn't the best teacher in that. So I'm saying on that aspect. But learn from your experiences, absorb it, go to Allah, and have to walk on, ask Allah to open up your eyes and allow you to see why things went wrong. And then be honest with Allah and say, if I'm the one that's going to be a problem here. You see what I'm saying? If I'm the one that's going to do this, go to Allah Azza wa Jal with it. But make sure you're in good standings with Allah. Don't be sitting around selling dope, club hopping, fornicating, getting high, you know, doing all type of drinking and, you know, a whole bunch of different things under the sun. Not saying that Allah might not reveal it to you, because Allah answered the dua of shaitan. So not saying that your dua won't be answered or Allah won't show you, but increase the chances of you getting a clear-cut answer. Because like I say, shaitan might slip in and answer it. You see what I'm saying? So that he can keep you on that walk of life he needs you on, so that you can help him with the work he's doing. You know, imagine that. Shaitan, you could be around, let's say you're around 30 Muslims. And see, I'm finna give y'all some logic. Do you know 30 good Muslims, men? Do you know what 30 good Muslims is supposed to be able to accomplish? With Allah Azza wa Jal on their side, 30 good Muslims should be able to build an empire. 30 good Muslims, y'all should be able to build a masjid from the ground up. Like the Rasul. We talking about 30 good Muslims. You have 30 good Muslims who understand their deen, and then they say, look, we're going to take 1 month. All of us finna go earn $1,000 a piece. And at the end of the month, we all going to come back with our $1,000, and we're going to have $30,000. Do you know y'all can build an empire with that $30,000? That $30,000, you can start a whole restaurant. You could start a whole business, man. You could start a corner store for $10,000, $5,000, $10,000. You can get a Subway. You could get a storefront. You know what I'm saying? You can go buy a little $10,000 house, a ran down building. Because if y'all came up with $30,000, if y'all come up with $1,000 for that money, got $30,000, and then do it for another month, that's $60,000. We got $30,000. Boom, we finna put this in there. We finna automatically take $15,000 and put it into something and do the work ourselves. And then while we doing that, we gonna come up with another $1,000 at the end of the month. Come back with another $30,000, and we gonna build. That's how it's supposed to work. That's how Islam's supposed to work. If it's not working that way, then some Muslims need to take a good look at themselves and what they really on and where they really stand with Allah Azza wa Jal. So by me saying that and knowing that these Muslims supposed to come into this environment, I knew what was going to go on with them. Because unfortunately, we don't have that. We don't have that. You know what I'm saying? You can't even take 5 Muslims and establish a class. You can't even take 5 Muslims and say, look, we're going to get together every single weekend and read Sahih Bukhari for 2 months. You can't even establish that. You see what I'm saying? Without, unless I'm not going to go into that. But I should have made Istikharah. But I put myself in a position without taking them Islamic steps. And that's like I'm bringing up the hadith. The Rasul taught us, the Sahaba, the Salaf, to make Istikharah on everything. He taught it that, instilled them in that. He instilled that on them the same way that he instilled learning, memorizing the Quran and learning them surahs. Istikharah, Tawakul, and Tawasul. I should have got on that. And then also, and I'm going to close on this, I like to make Taubah before I do that. And like some of the essence of Taubah, when you look at the Taubah, how Taubah came, not the 2 rakats, the way the Salaf knew about. When you go in Bukhari, you'll see a hadith on wudu, where Uthman, may Allah be pleased with him, made wudu and said, if you make this wudu the way that I just made, and do 2 perfect rakats, do 2 rakats without thinking anything, all your sins will be forgiven. But this is for Fajr. This wasn't necessarily just speaking on Taubah. This is your 2 rakats on Fajr, the first 2 rakats of Dhuhr, Maghrib, Asr, Isha. But they knew of that hadith, and they understood Tawasul. So they started to do 2 rakats in the hadith. Whenever you do a bad deed, follow it up with a good deed. So from this hadith, they took this hadith and started to do 2 rakats for Taubah. Because we know Taubah, the 2 rakats is one, following up the bad deed they did with a good one. The good deed they following up the bad deed with is 2 rakats. It's 2 rakats. And then there's a lot of people not aware of it, but because it's mustahab, there's a particular set of words, I want to say a dua, that is recommended for you to make after you do the 2 rakats of Taubah. I have yet to bump into a person like that don't really study or sit in classrooms that's aware of that. You know what I'm saying? At least in my travels, that's aware of there's something recommended mustahab that you should say after your 2 rakats for Taubah. But Taubah, it isn't due to 2 rakats. That's not the Taubah. Taubah is turning away from the sin that you did and completely stop doing it. We confuse that the actual 2 rakats is Taubah. No, the 2 rakats is for Taubah. You following up the bad deed with a good one. So you can see an athar from Abu Bakr that's saying that the 2 rakats offered for Taubah is 2, and it should be, he gave a little outline. It shouldn't be done in congregation and things like that. And like I said, it's recommended to say, just like with Istikharah, the 2 rakats is a form of wasila to offer it up. You can actually do the Istikharah dua without doing the 2 rakats. You know what I'm saying? But I don't want to confuse the people, so I don't have the time to start breaking it down. But that's just a little something that people could go do research on and ask the people of knowledge that they know. But do some research on it first. You might be able to Google it. But Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. And bifni Allah, inshallah ta'ala, this was able to be of some benefits to some people. And I just want to remind the people, man, start to learn from your Islamic experiences. Document it in your head. Even write it down if you have to, and grow from it. See what you did and it worked for you. And then build on that. And then look at things in the ways that you moved and you didn't have the type of success that you wanted. And then critique that. Fine-tune those mistakes. Learn from your experiences. And these are things. Taubah, Istikharah, Tawakul, and Tawasul. It'll take you a long way, inshallah ta'ala. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.